Hello and welcome to Steve and Dave's Behind the Curtain. This time around, we're talking about Muscle Shoals, and we made this a two-part video. This is going to be our second part. In the first part, we concentrated on Rick Hall and Fame
Yeah.
Studios, and that's where it's all started. The Muscle Shoals music production movement branched out in 1969
Yeah.
when the Music Shoals rhythm section, which became known as the Swampers, struck out on their own. Now, Steve, let's just talk about that fateful day in
Yeah, that's it's yeah,
1960.
it takes us, it's March, it's the spring of 69. And it's an interesting encounter, right? Because it's a planned meeting and the two sides have very different agendas. The you know
And they're
the
both very
Swampers,
excited. They're both very excited
they're
about
both very excited.
their
You
agenda.
know, so Rick Hall had been hoping to land a major distribution deal for really for years. That was, from his perspective, sort of the key to really taking Fame Studios to that next level. And in his mind, it would be it would everyone would be rewarded, right? So everybody involved with the with Fame Studios would benefit from this. Um, the the Swampers, who had been playing for a few years for him, where I think this is a I don't know if this has been fully fleshed out, and what they're chafing under his leadership a bit. It's it's an interesting moment. We're talking about young guys in their early 20s, um, who
And
are
all started off with their professional music making in their teens. So
yeah. I mean, so
they're already veterans, right? I mean, in a sense, they've
they're
been at it
already
several years.
veterans, but they're all locals. This is all they've really ever known. Yet they've had glimpses, right? They've had a lot of interaction with people like Jerry Wexler, for example, from Atlantic. They've had interactions with the bright lights, I guess. They want they
Once you've been to Oz, it's hard to go back to the
I
party.
guess that's it. It's so what's interesting about this is that they have a kind of hunger that is not unlike what Rick Hall had, right? That they want to be successful. They want to have a lot of input. They want to call the shots, much like Rick Hall. And so they have this meeting where the Swampers are planning to tell Hall that in fact they're ready to set out on their own. Hall has in hand a deal with from Capital, where again, this is the distribution deal he'd been dreaming about for years. And so they have this moment where they come together and they have very different kind of agendas. And it's I think by all accounts it's a contentious meeting.
Well, the
Maybe not as
Swampers,
contentious as some people feared, but yeah.
yeah, the Swampers went into it very, very worried about how this was going to go over because they knew uh,
Oh yeah.
that he relied on them very heavily, right? I mean, but the thing is, they were freelancers, and
That they were.
uh, although he was essentially their boss, he was not their employer in the sense of having giving them jobs.
It's yeah, they operate in this kind of netherworld. I mean, you're right. Um, they are freelancers, and but they have a very strong relationship with Hall, and I think Hall sees them not just as employees or quasi employees, but almost a kind of family. That I mean, this is the
His
interesting.
team. It's his team, right? I mean,
It's his team, and
yeah.
and these are people that he has nurtured, that he identified as really kids, brought them and provided them with a kind of a magical opportunity. And from his perspective, this is the thanks I get.
Well, and he's coming back from Los Angeles and has what he feels like is um, an offer that's going to
That's
kind of
right, Dave.
put everything. They're not going to be freelancers anymore. They're going to work for him. They're going to be actual employees. They're going to have work contracts, um,
And a
and
bump in pay. I mean, and this is the big time from his perspective for
but the thing
everyone.
is, and I think it's not entirely uh, benevolent because
Well, I think that's true.
of course he wants to have them then working exclusively for
Right.
Fame Studios,
Well, I
which
mean,
they had not been doing.
they had not been doing, and they again, right, they had not been doing. And and we talked about this with in the Hall episode. There is a kind of disastrous encounter with Atlantic Records. And I think it's clear that Hall recognizes this, that these four young men have a real gift and that lots of people can see it. And so you're right. I mean, he wants to bring them into the fold to protect, I mean, to protect his investment as
Right.
well.
And Wexler certainly recognized the immense talent that was there. Um,
Absolutely.
the Swampers, or the people who the band that would become the Swampers, more or less single-handedly kickstarted Aretha Franklin's career.
I think this is demonstrably the case. Yeah. And so um it's they had that certain something. And it's clear that Wexler recognized it very quickly. And it's clear that other people did as well. And so it's an interesting moment, right? Where you've got these young guys who know that they're on the cusp of something. Um, a Rick Hall who has been fighting for, I mean, you can argue his whole life, but certainly, certainly for a decade or so in terms of the music business and trying to, get a leg up. And he think he's got it. And they come together and the fellows tell them that they want to set out on their own. It's a oh man, it's quite a
Yeah,
moment.
you know, Wexler was the first one to tell Roger Hawkins, "Man, you are an excellent drum player," and he
Right.
says he's done with Hall. Wexler's done with Hall because of
Oh, yeah,
the incident that you mentioned.
that's right. That
They're divorced people, but Wexler does not want to do without the Swampers. He needs them. He wants them, and because they're freelancers, they can go where they want to go. And in this case,
yes,
in the first instance, it's to New York
it's to New York. Yeah.
to finish a recording with Aretha Franklin. Um, so that whole Atlantic situation has a huge influence going forward on what happens
It
to
it
those two
is.
groups.
It's the big bang of the Swampers. It's the big bang of Muscle Soul Sound Studio. And it is a kind of shot across the bow for Hull, no question. I think that's absolutely right.
But I
Um,
think our spin on this is that in the end, it turns out to be um, kind of a win-win situation because it doesn't detract from Fame Studios as much as it creates a second channel for Muscle Shoals music. Um, because Fame continues on,
Fame continues on. I think, yeah.
continues to do extremely well. It's not hurting. In fact, it's hard to imagine for me how Fame Studios would have dealt with all the work that was going to come in that direction
Well, it
from Atlantic Records.
yeah. So I think that this is. I mean, so right, and so there's no way that the Swampers would have been able to handle it all, right? So the expansion that Fame saw, and sort of creating this. this kind of loose family of musicians who eventually were like all under contract with with Hall. Yeah, it would have. I mean, it would have gotten. And the Swampers, I mean, they were a kind of contiguous unit. They worked together.
Yeah.
They worked together for forever.
Yes.
They worked together on the road. They worked together in the studio. That really would have kind of had to come apart because you're right. The influx of work at Fame just wouldn't have allowed them four guys to just handle it.
And the other
The
thing
other,
about
yeah.
just the other thing about this contract, which I think Hall really did feel was in their interest as well, is
Oh, I
that
think that's true. Yeah.
because they were working elsewhere, and probably even earning better elsewhere,
Hmm. I think
that
that's true too.
contract would have meant a reduction in their income. If they had signed that, they would have been making less money, period. And that
Less money, maybe more stability, but less money. Yeah.
yeah, uh,
And with and right and with the continue, I mean, their roles would have remained the same. I think this is the other piece of this that was pushing them is that they wanted more production activity, they wanted more production credit, and that just wasn't going to really be available in working under Rick Hall at the Fame Studios. I mean, it just wasn't.
and Rick Hall
And
said later, um, those guys weren't just great musicians. They had an ear. They
they
knew
definitely did.
about music production. They understood how to produce good music.
Well, this is right, and so some of that, of course, is innate, but also some of that is that's trained, and that's Hall imparting this. I mean, so in a way, it's a great compliment to Hall, and he recognized this, I think, later in his life. But this is a very fraught, a very fraught moment in the late '60s as these guys. But it's also interesting, Dave, is that these guys, these four guys, all locals, they want to stay they want to stay in Muscle Shoals. They want to stay in Alabama. They want to just go down the road. I mean, you could imagine a scenario where they even, take it to Nashville or to wherever. They're moving down the road, which of course is uh, problematic from Rick Hall's perspective.
Yes.
But they're also, I mean, but you can't take the country out of the boy, and so they're Muscle Shoals lads through and through, and so when they think about this next step,
Well,
well, they're gonna set up at 3614 Jackson Highway.
In Muscle Shoals, they're the whales, right? In Nashville, they would have been small fish in a big pond. But in Muscle
Yeah, I mean,
Shoals,
it'd been smallish fish, yeah, for sure. But yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But Muscle Shoals, you're right. But it's also, I mean, it can. So what this does, of course, is it enhances, and this is our perspective here, is that that the creation of Muscle Shoals Sound Studio simply just enhances the import of Northern Alabama. There's much getting around that, but it is they're driven by. It's fascinating that these guys, this is where they want to live. I mean, this is home.
This is
Like
home.
it's as unimaginable for them to live and be working someplace else. So by God, they just set up just down the road. It's unbelievable.
And the people have always come to them.
Yes.
That's always been the case. They don't have to go chasing after artists or songwriters. The people come to them. It's and it becomes a downright pilgrimage at some point. It just does. They're not there yet, but the other thing is, had they stayed with Rick Hall, they might have missed out on all that Atlantic stuff. And all that Atlantic stuff essentially made the new studio. It was, what were they getting? 75, 80% of what was going to the new studio
Yeah, I think
was
that
being
that's
sent there
and that in the yeah, that's right.
by Wexler and
And all that Atlantic stuff led to all that stuff from Columbia, which led to right. But yeah, I mean, Atlantic wasn't going to send any more work to Fame. And so
Well,
yeah, they were the
I
mean.
wonder if they had stayed there, if that might have forced some
Oh,
sort of
I don't know.
reconciliation.
Maybe.
But Wexler was pretty clear about, we're done. I'm never working with you
Well, I
again.
mean, yeah, I mean, you're talking about amongst the most stubborn people in the industry, Jerry Wexler, Rick Hall. I mean, it's possible. But what it did though, when those guys broke away, is right. They opened the door. Atlantic, they were a known quantity to Atlantic, and the Atlantic sent lots of people down there. Lots of people heard them, and this then just the floodgates opened. No
Yeah, and
question.
you know, Rick Hall is convinced that Wexler went to those guys and said, "Look, start your own studio."
Well,
But
of course he did.
well,
I mean,
Hawkins and Johnson, who were
okay.
the two who decided to do this, tell a different story.
Yes, well, okay. Yes,
They've
they
been
do.
talking about it for a long time. They've been looking at possible locations. Um, a dentist uh, uh, set up a studio uh, on the
This is this is so odd.
uh,
Yeah.
set up a studio um, at on Jackson Highway
Yep.
and was recording some country stuff there. I guess it's just in the water in
Well, this is the thing, Dave. It must just be in the
Wisconsin.
water because if they do move into, I mean, obviously they enhance it and whatnot, but it is in fact it is a real studio. And so again, this is a tiny spot in the road, and you've got all of this, and we've talked about this. I mean, in the first episode, that this has just been, like you say, in the water. That you have lots of people who are, try their hand at it, including the dang dentist, right? Who thinks, well, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe I'll. And so, right, and so they identified this.
At some point, his wife says
Yeah,
it's enough. So he says, "Well, I bet you guys could do a good job here." And then they start to think about it, and that's what ends up happening.
I think they get lots of encouragement.
I think they get a lot of financial support,
Oh, I think
um,
that's right.
but I don't. Supposedly, he was not the one who suggested that.
Oh, that may be, but Wexler's no doubt that Wexler on the side talked to these guys about the business, talked to these guys about their acumen, and if nothing else, Wexler's fawning praise gave them, real confidence. I mean, Jerry Wexler, for God's sake, one of the biggest names in the business.
Well,
Yeah, so
and they could be pretty confident that there would be work coming from that direction if they did go on their own.
I think that that's right. I mean, so I think, while not, it's, yeah, it maybe never explicitly stated, but I think they had every reason to believe that they would have as much work from Atlantic as they, and they
And he
can they
certainly
can
was
they
not
deal with.
sorry to see it happen.
No, he wasn't. No, he knew, and he knew what he was getting, and so it was profitable for everybody. But again, this is another thing that makes Rick Hall's blood boil for many years, right? God dang it, these guys down the road, working with this WEC, all this, So it was, eventually they repair. I mean, it seems they repair all this before
Yeah,
everybody passes,
yeah.
but it's a hard thing, and but these guys, they set up on Jackson Highway, and Muscle Shoals Sound Studio then becomes an entity.
Just real quick, it occurs to me when we talked about Sam Phillips that there was a lot of the similar sort of thing of I,
Absolutely.
I'm building something up, I build artists up, and after all that hard work, when it's starting to, take form, when it's starting to pay
I
off,
think that's right, Dave.
that's the moment that they just are interesting for the big people and they come in and scoop them up. And I think there was a lot of, so it's kind of the nature of the business,
It is the
but,
nature of business. It's always
but
been
it's
this way,
also
but you're
something
right.
that I think is hard to to get behind because there is loyalty there. There is a sense of
I
belonging together and all of that.
totally agree, Dave. Totally agree. I think that the thing that unites Phillips and Rick Hall, and that separates the Swampers, is I think it's the fact that the Swampers were always a unit. They were they had each other. There was a certain kind of camaraderie. There were leaders and there were followers within the Swampers, but they were, but there was a kind of equanimity. Both Hall and and Phillips are kind of lone wolves, um, and and they really can't work with other people very well. They certainly won't want to don't want to give a lot of power to other people, and so it's
Yeah.
so they they're gonna chafe. They're gonna chafe at a structure in the business that it's kind of to some degree predatory. Um, but the swappers were able to roll with it a little bit, or at least they were beneficiaries.
Yes, yeah, they certainly were. Um, well, let's talk a little bit about that. They move to 3614 Jackson Highway, which not coincidentally is the title of Cher's first solo album.
Yeah, this is Cher, right? Going out on her own, well, sort of. Um, she had paired with Sonny Bono, had some success, right? In the mid '60s,
And
but
Sonny went to Muscle Shoals with her, but
he showed up.
he
Yeah,
showed up.
he
He was
definitely
not on
showed
the
up,
album, but he was there.
but he was there. And so this is I guess that it's fair to say this is the first big album project that they worked on. It's notable for the album cover, and it's also notable that no real hit singles came from it, which is
It's just a
sort of
bunch of it was a
unusual.
bunch of covers.
Yeah, but it's unusual for given Cher's track record.
Well, at that point, she
Follow
was a fairly hot property. But again, this was just an album of covers, so nothing really took off. It was inconsequential. What was
but
what
the
was the first consequential
I
thing
I think
that
that's
was
probably the Take a Letter Maria. I think
RB Greaves?
RB Greaves. Yeah, I think it's widely seen as sort of the first kind of hit
Yeah,
coming from there.
yeah. And that was just the 45. But did you know that he was Sam Cooke's nephew?
I don't think I did know that, but I mean, it is the music business,
That makes sense.
so it makes sense. But yeah, so that's a hit. That's a big hit.
Um, okay, so what's going on in 1969? Well, one of the things was Boz Scaggs' first album, self-titled first album, Boz Scaggs, um, which was also unspectacular. Did virtually nothing. Well, didn't chart,
Well, Boss Skaggs doesn't have much chart success until the mid '70s, but he
but it's known
but
for one of the singles, "Loan Me a Dime,"
yep.
and that's mainly because of the cooperation with Dwayne Allman that happens on that. Just incredible
Well,
guitar work.
well, sure, but there we go. So you're talking about a guy, right, Dwayne Allman, who had been paired with Rick Hall for a time.
Yes,
Had set off on his own, but
camped out at the famed
yeah, there we go. Yep,
Hall of Fame studios in his tent.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, in his tent. Uh, but I think what's clear about these, even the albums and songs that aren't making huge waves on the charts, that they're all well regarded, right? And they're quite the early years of Muscle Shoals. That it's real quality, and people who paid. I mean, so again, Boz Scaggs, these early albums are lauded by his fans as he's making the transition from the Steve Miller band. Yeah,
And
it's good stuff.
he confirms an urban legend. Um, Apparently, or supposedly, Dwayne Allman would always play in the small toilet that they had in the studio because he just loved the acoustics.
Mm, that's the reason. Um,
Yeah, that's
well, I mean,
what I
that's
assume
part of the
is the
reason.
reason.
It's part of the reason. Yeah, I mean, Dwayne Allman, Skydog, is an unusual figure. And but yeah, there we go.
Well, Bob Seger apparently did as well. So it was a
Oh
toilet.
well, you know,
It
yeah,
was a
that's right.
toilet apparently with really great acoustics. Supposedly, Keith Richards wrote most of Wild Horses in that bathroom.
Again, because of the acoustics. Okay. Well, you know, it's quite a bathroom. And when
Quite
you
a
take the
bathroom.
tour, take a look.
One a very historical bathroom.
Indeed.
Most bathrooms don't have that kind of
Ah, that's well said.
storied
Yes,
past.
that's right.
So, uh, yes, Cher, Boss Skaggs, and R.B. Greaves. That was how um, how that studio finished up 1969, with one very, very notable exception. On December 2nd, the Rolling Stones rolled into town.
This is this is one of this this is one of the strangest stories ever.
In the discography, Sticky Fingers, Brown Sugar, Wild Horses, those were listed in 1971, which really confused me because everything I had heard was that they were there in the 19. Well, of
That's
course,
right.
it came out April 23rd, 1971.
Yeah. But
So, but the recording sessions took place in those 3 days from the 2nd to the 4th of December.
yeah, so so the Stones coming to Muscle Shoals is, I mean, it's quite apocryphal, right? And so this is the Mick Taylor era. They are touring. They are touring and at Auburn University, which is in northern, kind of northeastern Alabama, but not particularly close to Muscle Shoals. So they helicopter, right? They helicopter over to Muscle Shoals. That must have been something, by the way. And they land in the parking lot. It's fair to say that none of the Stones had really any idea what Muscle Shoals what Muscle Shoals look like,
What to
and they may
expect?
have what I mean. They may have had yeah. It was yeah. I mean, it's rural. It's really rural, and the studio was
Is it a building
cramped.
standing isolated in the middle of nowhere
But
on
it's
highway, Jackson Highway?
but it's also yeah. But it's also the Stones that maybe they're Zenith, right? It's I mean, is it the biggest band in the world? Yeah, probably. I mean,
Right.
probably.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah, and so the fact that the Stones are in Muscle Shoals for a few days, and it's just a few days, you know, staying at the I think they stayed at the Holiday Inn.
Holiday Inn,
Um,
where, by the way, their lawyers were ironing out some final details for the Atlantic distribution deal. So both
it's unbelievable.
Amit Entagun and Jerry Wexler were there during those days, as again were most of the
Think how much time Jerry Wexler spent in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Yeah, so they're ironing out the details like in the coffee shop of the Holiday Inn.
of the Holiday Inn. They're at the Holiday Inn while these guys are over in the studio.
Yeah, so it's yeah, so the studio time, this is quite famous, right? That this is, I mean, and Keith Richards in particular speaks glowingly of the time in Muscle Shoals and of the players and just everything's really surrounding the
He's a huge
experience
fan, a huge fan.
and
And he
and
talks
considers
about
it
what a great influence that had on the music that they were making. Um,
yeah.
and he said Exile on Main Street would have been recorded there as well if they had been allowed in the States.
This, yeah, this is where, of course, it all gets complicated, and Richards is, sort of right at the heart of that controversy. But
Yes.
it's but right, but the time that they spend and the songs that they record are, again, are legendary, and it's but the Stones. I mean, so the Stones coming to Muscle Shoals was coming to Muscle Shoals Sound Studio, right? This was kind of the shot heard around the world, right? That this was there was something about this that was of a different magnitude. And this, I think, really authenticated what the Swampers were doing in a way that, well, then in a way that working with Boz Scaggs and Cher and whatnot just didn't.
Well, okay. Interestingly, the Swampers talking about this in their later years said they asked us not to talk about our involvement, not to put that out there. Um, and they received also some scant credit on the album, but it was kind of on the lowdown.
Oh, it was kind of on the load, but I mean, it was certainly a well-known secret. I
Well,
mean, it's okay. Yeah. I mean,
uh,
people in the industry knew,
again,
and
it's not something that was lost on Jerry Wexler. Um, you know,
no, and
the
pe-
Stones
and
came out of that session and they were just
it's
raving about how fantastic it was,
and
and so
and and and
those are my
that's right.
guys.
And Keith Richards couldn't shut up about it to his friends and colleagues, right? I mean, hell, he's still talking about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so did it appear right? So is it on the album and whatnot? Okay, yeah, but it's the notion here is that the Stones, um, it's a certain kind of credibility. There's a certain kind of credibility.
Oh, yeah, it certainly is, and uh, there is one interesting anecdote out of that. Um, Jimmy Johnson talks about the time that he almost came to blows with Mick Jagger, and it was over one of the speakers in the production booth. They would come in and listen to the
Yeah,
playback, and Mick Jagger was always bitching about there's, there's, there's something, I'm hearing something that does not belong there. And Johnson said, I had told them from the beginning, this speaker has some extraneous noises. Don't worry about it. It's the speaker you're hearing, it's not the
it's not.
tape,
Yeah,
right? So, but every time Jagger would say, what the fuck is that? And why are we getting such a dirty sound here? He says, it's the speaker. And he said, after 2 days of this, I just said, look, man, I've been saying it the whole time. I'll say it one more time. It's the speaker. It's not the tape. So get off my back, or
yeah. This is. I
Jagger
mean,
backed
right.
off. And he said from that point on, they were just, they understood each other just perfectly. But
It's which gets. I mean, so I mean, the whole notion here. It was it's a small place. Was a chronically underfunded place for the first few years. And these guys weren't just they were the owners, right? This was
yeah,
their studio. So they had a certain kind of, there's a certain kind of, emotion associated with it. But the Stones were only in Muscle Shoals for I think it's 3 or 4 days.
3 days.
And it's probably, I mean, as much as people rue the fact that, oh, if they could have been there longer, man, it would have been unbelievable. How long could the Rolling Stones be in Muscle Shoals, Alabama before all hell broke loose? Right? I mean,
But listen,
it's
what
probably
did they record there? Brown Sugar, Wild Horses. Wow. Um,
is it
there was a third
is it
one.
there is I don't yeah I don't know that it's Fool to Cry. We'll put it in the notes. I can't remember for sure.
Yeah, we'll put it in
But
there.
Brown, well, and right, and what of course Brown Sugar was recorded in the US South. Yikes.
Yikes.
Um but yeah, it's but it's a classic moment in
You
Muscle
gotta
Shoals
move.
history, and a classic.
You gotta move. That was the third.
Gotta move. You gotta move. That's it. And it's a classic moment in Stone's history as well.
Yes.
Highlight yeah.
All right. For the Swampers in their new studio, 1969 kind of ends with a bang, right?
For sure. For sure.
And then we get into 1960. Oh, by the way, they were recording with Greaves in the morning and early afternoon on those days, and the Stones would come in the studio around 6 in the evening, and they would record in the evening with the Stones then. Um,
Busy
so
time.
they were fully booked out on those days.
Well, right. This is the kind of thing that you can do when you're a young man, sort of burn the candle at both ends.
And the Stones got a bill then for $1,009 for the time for the studio time.
A bargain then, I think.
I think so,
And yeah, best $1,009 the Stones ever spent.
probably. Well, 1970 comes along. Uh, Greaves puts out Always Something There to Remind Me. That's 45. He wasn't really the person that made that big, right? I mean, that wasn't really a hit for him.
No, it wasn't.
But
No, not really.
yeah, that
Been recorded by
got covered by several artists.
is that a Backrack and
It
David
is
song?
Backrack, I think. Yeah,
At least
Backrack
Backrack. Yeah, I
David.
think that's right.
So it's probably Warwick also.
Probably,
I think Soprano
probably.
was the one that made it hit. But anyway, Lulu, uh, with her album New Routes,
Oh, Lulu. To Sir with Love, Lulu.
to Serve with Love. And
She was married to one of the Gibbs, I think, at this point.
is that right? I
I
did
think
not know
that's
that.
right. Yeah, well, yeah. Lulu made
Wilson
the
Pickett
track.
showed up in
There we go.
1970 with Right On. It's the LP, and the single is Sugar Sugar.
Yep. And Wilson Pickett had recorded at Fame, right? So I mean, he had
Yes,
known these guys for a while.
they've been working together for quite a while now. Joe Cocker showed up
Oh,
for the 45. High Time We Went.
I bet. Joe Cocker. This is Joe Cocker, kind of peak Joe Cocker, right?
It's
This
kind
is
of
the Mad.
yes,
This is kind of Mad Dogs and Englishmen era.
it definitely
Um,
is. It
Peak
definitely
Joe
is.
Cocker, and man, that guy was, woo, yeah, he was a lot.
Um, well, speaking of Wilson Pickett, 1971. Don't Knock My Love, the LP and the 45, recorded at uh, the studio. Staple Singers
Ah,
with Heavy Makes You Happy and
this is peak. This is peak Staples too, right?
Respect
Right.
Yourself. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Well,
Respect
in
yourself.
fact,
This
they're
is it. This is huge for them.
they would also record I'll Take You There.
Hmm.
And hearing that is what moved Paul Simon to want to record.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Um, he wanted to
It
play with the same reggae black
Yeah. This is
musicians
okay.
that played with the Staple Singers.
It is interesting is not even the right word, but um, Pop Staples had lots of choices as to where he could record. And the fact that he decided to record in Muscle Shoals with the Swampers, these four white guys, is I think it's important. Yeah, I think it's important. It's an interesting choice, an important
Well,
choice.
and I'm guessing that has a lot to do with Aretha Franklin. Just guessing.
Oh, I think that's a safe guess. Yeah, I think you're right.
Um, but anyway, 1971 also sees Linda Ronstadt record a song Uh, they're a very lovely lady.
Oh, this is oh God. She's not, is this Stone Ponies, Linda Ronstadt?
It must be. I think that's 1971. I think that's right.
Could be. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that doesn't go that song doesn't go anywhere. And Linda Ronstadt doesn't really, I mean, get much traction until a little bit later, but
But one of the things that they talk about is during that session, um, there were a couple of guys hanging out on the back porch, and just starting to get on their nerves. Like, who are these guys? What are they doing here? What do they want? It's not all that unusual
I would think not.
for people just at that point there were
Yeah,
already rock and roll tourists
sure.
going there. But that was Glenn Fry and Don Henley.
Okay, so are they playing so is this when they were part of the band?
They were working with her at that point.
So this
They,
is post Stone Ponies then. Yeah, yeah.
they did not play on that.
But they were part of the yeah, yeah, part of the touring group.
Right.
Yeah. The one would think, Dave, that if it's Muscle Shoals, Alabama, and one movie theater and like a couple stoplights, that what was happening at Fame Studios and what was happening at the sound studios, I think that would get people's attention. And you could imagine scenarios where people just kind of hung around just to kind of see who, if a bus pulled up or that kind of thing. I mean,
Oh,
yeah.
sure.
I mean, it's the biggest show in town.
It is. Um, and I would be a little bit uh, uneasy rider
Oh, yeah.
about the whole situation as an artist coming in. But
It is Alabama in the early 70s. Yeah.
yeah, apparently, apparently that's what led to Hey Jude, um,
Yes.
because neither the long haired nor the black man wanted to go in town and eat with the rest of them. So they hung out at the studio and had their lunch there. And Dwayne
This
Allman
is that's right. And
pitched.
hey, Jude. Yeah, that's exactly right. This gets to, oh my God dang. The so both Fame Studios and the Muscle Shoals Sound Studio were, they were both kind of oases, right? And not just artistic oases, but also the oases of tolerance. And I don't want to overplay this because but it's um, this was not a welcoming environment in 1971, 72. It just wasn't. And
Right.
so it's all this is just so it's so improbable.
But music is always what breaks down those barriers. If you love the music, you don't care who's making it or who you're making it with.
That would certainly be the contention of people who, who see yeah, right.
It's just,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I hear you.
we're music uh, cousins. We're related by what we're listening to and what we're playing, and that's much bigger than anything else.
It's
And
and
we see
it's
it again and
yeah,
again. So
right. But which is it's kind of political in its own way, and it's so again, Rick Hall did his thing and forged a kind of I mean, the Swampers are the same, right? They're breaking boundaries in their own ways.
yeah, well, especially just the fact that everybody who hears them play assumes that they're black players. That's
Yes, I think that's yeah.
interesting in itself,
Well, I mean, right, which is a function in a lot of things, but it's also part of this almost embargo of credit, so that they are playing, but they're, if they're mentioned, they're briefly mentioned, they're never pictured, and so there's this kind of mystery, this aura that surrounds them, and people have a certain expectation.
Um,
Yeah.
okay, 1971 yet. Laura Nero uh, goes to Muscle Shoals.
That must, that is, you talk about fish out of water. I mean, just candidly, it's unimaginable. But there you go.
And records the single Up on the Roof, which is strange for a singer-songwriter, I think. Um,
Um,
or
yeah,
does she have her own Up on the Roof?
I believe that it was a cover. I believe that it
Right?
was a cover. Laura Nyro, she had a contentious relationship with lots of people, but including the music in her record companies. And there was always an attempt to make her more commercial. She was perceived as not commercial enough, which is, I think, I mean, there's something to that.
And maybe most interesting, 1971, Leon Russell shows up in Muscle Shoals for the first time
Nah.
to record his LP, The Shelter People. And the very next year, 1972, he records Carney there,
Oh, th
including
those are that's
including Tightrope, of course.
tightrope. Yeah, that's peak Leon Russell, and you could imagine. I mean, that there's a kind of cultural fit, and also just the swamp. I mean, it must have been hand in glove.
Yeah, I would think so.
But it's also interesting that Russell has is in the he's forming his own record company.
Well, speaking of which, Denny Cordell, his record company partner, um, accompanies him to Muscle Shoals, and he's the one who gives these guys the name the Swampers. Danny Cordell is the first one to call them the Swampers.
Danny Cordell is the Zelig of I mean, there's always. I mean, there he is. Oh, there he is. There, yeah.
There
But
he is again. Yeah. Uh-huh.
but there, yeah, Danny Cordell again. I'll talk about fish out of water, but yeah, awesome
I'll take you there. 1972, Staple Singers.
staple singers.
Um, oh, let's see who else we have. Percy Sledge, who
Long time.
they've also recorded
Yeah,
with before
that's right.
at
Yeah,
Hull Studios.
that's right.
Sorry, Fame Studios. I can't. In my mind, it's always the Hall of Fame. It's Rick Hall of Fame Studios. But yes, Percy Sledge. They were responsible for his first big hit, and they again, the Swampers were on that, but that wasn't that particular song. When a man loves a woman,
Loves a woman. Yeah,
was not recorded at Fame,
right, right. Yeah,
but they
which
were
Hall remembered,
on it. Yes.
but they're on it. Yeah.
So his LP, The Percy Sledge Way, recorded in their studio. Then, as I said, Paul Simon comes. Uh,
This might be the most famous of the, I mean, amongst the most famous of the pilgrimages to Muscle Shoals.
and he talked to, I don't remember, do you know the guy at Stax Records that he talked to? One of their execs
I
said,
don't know. No, I don't know.
where do I go to record with these reggae guys? I said, well, you go to Muscle Shoals, but they may be a lot lighter than you think.
Yeah. Okay, so this is all right. So this is Paul Simon. This is after the breakup. This is Paul Simon sort of almost the kind of getting the peak of his creative powers. And he had, I mean, so he's recording with Columbia. He could record anywhere. He had amazing pull with Columbia Records, but he wants to go to Muscle Shoals.
And he had been
Um,
down in Jamaica and stuff like that for
right.
um, so he likes to experiment. He likes to work with different musicians from different musical cultures, and that's why he's going down there.
and the Swampers are very excited, right? To have this because Paul Simon's one of the great artists, one of the great songwriters. He's a real craftsman, but there is some concern from the Swampers' perspective that um, I have this right, that there's some concern about the studio itself, right? The
Well,
it's
as I understand it,
it's not a great building.
right. And I think he was a little bit, um, actually a bit surprised at what he found there.
Oh, I
And
think that yes, I think surprise is the word.
if I remember correctly, at the time there was like even a leak in the roof. Um, so wow, where am I at here? But
Well,
as soon as they started making the music, it was all good.
there definitely were leaks in the roof, um, and the leaks were controlled by the use of right the Kotex. So they'd attach tampons to absorb the water, and so Simon walks in, all these tampons, which he thought was kind of charming, I guess. On some, I mean, he at least that was the affect. But yeah, I mean, it's once he heard, he was in the right place,
So he goes there to record There Goes Ryan and Simon, that LP, right?
right? Yeah,
Including
and this is
Chrome,
peak. Yeah, this is peak Simon. Kodachrome,
Take Me
Loves
to
Me
the
Like a
Mardi
Rock. Oh,
Gras,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
One Man Ceilings and Everything for that whole bit.
yeah.
Um, a year later, he's back for Still Crazy after all these years. I'm not sure how much of that album he actually records there, but at least Loves Me Like a Rock.
Loves Me Like a Rock. Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, these big people are coming. And the next really big group to show up is Traffic. Shootout at the Fantasy Factory. Shootout at the Fantasy Factory. Their LP. They record there, and they're so taken by the Swampers that they asked them to join them on tour,
Yeah.
which they do. I
This is
guess couple of years
a
long.
couple years. They tour with him for a long time, and Traffic had been. I mean, that band had been around for a while, and they actually were used to rustic environments. I mean, they had recorded in rural England and that kind of thing. But you're right. They wanted to take this sound on the road, and so from the Swampers' perspective, this was sort of their first big. I mean, they had been out of Muscle Shoals, but not really, kind of. But they're touring. They're rock stars. At least they're rock stars for a while. It's it's really an extraordinary pairing, and
I
they
mean,
and they and they really enjoy
they
it.
all started off making music in bands, in live performances, right? But they were live performances for 15 or 20 people
Well, yeah, they're playing at the
in
VFW
bars
down the
or
road.
in
Yeah,
sororities or something like that.
this was yeah, this was rock and roll. This was rock and roll like they, could probably only imagine. And so I think they were really taken with this kind of star turn. I mean, there was a lot of things about that. I mean, they just I don't think that this is what they wanted for their lives because they certainly could have done this. I mean, they certainly could have all joined up or even just, kind of packaged themselves. But but this was exciting for them and it was a kind of worthwhile experience. But it was an experiment.
Traffic did another LP in the same year with them on the road. Huh, imagine. Um, Orleans, 1973, with It All Comes Back.
Mhm.
Their single. Canned Heat, One More River to Cross. And the Stable Singers, two LPs that year, Be What You Are and Be Altitude,
Yep.
sorry. In 1974, Willie Nelson comes. Uh,
That's so
Donnie
interesting.
Fritz. What do you know about Donnie Fritz?
I don't know anything about Donnie Fritz.
Donnie Fritz was a keyboardist. In fact, he had done some work with at Fame Studios,
Huh.
but he was the keyboardist for Chris Christopherson for like almost 4 decades.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
and he recorded the album "Prone to Lean" with a number of Christopherson songs on it, and Christopherson playing on that, and they did that at
Muscle Shoals
the Muscle
Sound Studio.
Shoals.
Yeah.
Pickett in the Pocket with Wilson Pickett, also 1974. Bob Seger. Sorry, I have to go back a little bit for Bob Seger. His
Yeah,
his
it's
his first contact with them was actually back in 1972 with the LP back in 72.
mhm.
And there's an interesting story about that. Uh, Bob Seger and his manager, sorry, I don't recall the name,
Yeah.
but they had gone there and they wanted to record there, and they were told that the cost per side was going to be so and so much. What they heard was, for this much money, we can get a side of an album made. But the side in the production world refers to like a single, the side of a
Mhm.
single.
Yeah,
So when you
so
talk about a side, you're talking about producing
a,
a song,
a profound misunderstanding.
a profound misunderstanding. And the problem is, okay, so they said, well, so we have the two songs that we've paid for. We don't have the money to have you guys finish this album for us. So we'll just have to, guess we'll just have to leave. And the Muscle Shoals guys said, the Swampers said, look, we'll do the album, but then we want a percentage. And, that we'll take that as a form of payment.
Yeah.
Um, so that's what they agreed on. It was basically a handshake deal. And they said, we worked with Bob Seger for 10 years, probably more longer than we worked with any other single artist.
Right. It
Never had any other agreement, never had anything on paper, and we're still receiving royalty payments from them.
yeah, this is for decades they talked about the about this and about Seeger's. I mean, this is how it should work, but it never
Unfortunately,
does.
it's not how it
But
works in the music business, not usually.
but that Seeger was a man of his word and a real figure of real integrity. But yeah, incredible bond, but born from a misunderstanding.
Yeah, but yeah, you're going to have a misunderstanding, then have it with someone like Bob Seger.
Yeah.
Uh, anyway, in 74, he comes out with a Beautiful Loser single, and in early 75, Kathmandu. So this
This
is
is
when he's
this is where it gets
starting,
started.
yeah, he's starting to become uh, something of a hit producer at that point. And of course, 1976, the big stuff going on there. Night Moves in Main Street from Bob Seger.
And
Uh,
this, yeah,
the Night Moves LP and,
this
and,
is
and the single, of course, Main Street.
this is the breakout. This is where Bob Sicker becomes Bob Sicker, right?
This
And
is
this
where
is
I start to really pay attention to Bob Seger.
me too. And this is where I this is the first time that I really took notice of Muscle Shoals. I had these Seeker albums, and he would talk about the Muscle Shoals rhythm section, and I didn't understand it. I didn't know what it meant. But I knew that this. I mean, I knew it from Seeker, and so he had the Silver Bullet Band, but he also then had this Muscle Shoals group, and but for me, this was my first kind of consciousness of Muscle Shoals was through Seeger. So yeah, I mean, and they helped make Seeger, yeah, for sure.
One of the most interesting stories about that collaboration, the Seeger and the Swampers, is the story behind uh, old time rock and roll. Bob Seger writes most of his material himself, right?
That's right.
And so This one was not written by Seeger. It was written by one George Jackson.
Hmm.
This is a songwriter that apparently they'd worked with a lot. Jimmy
Yeah.
Johnson said he came in with a new batch of songs. He was basically a blues songwriter, and but he was really enthusiastic about this one rock song that he had in the
Right.
batch. And I looked at it, and it just was not particularly impressed. Was not enthusiastic, but I thought, all right, let's go ahead. We'll do that demo first
Yeah. Get out of the way.
and get it out of the way, right? I guess
Yeah.
do a lot
I mean,
to humor a songwriter that's
yeah, and so, let's just, all right, let's just do it. Let's
so we'll
just
take
take
care
do
of
it.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, they had this guitar no sorry vocalist come in, one Dennis Gully, and
Hmm.
he kind of had a gruff sort of vocal style. And
Yeah.
when he started singing this, Jimmy Johnson and one of the other guys that was in the booth, they looked at each other and just said, mouthed, Seeger, Bob Seeger. And so they decided they'd pitch it to him, although he was not someone that was looking for songs because he did his own.
Right.
But they pitched it to him, they sent him the demo, and he liked it. He liked it apparently enough that without the knowledge of the Swampers, he took it on the road with him to Europe.
Yeah.
His band wasn't particularly enthusiastic
No, I
about it
mean,
either,
he liked it a lot more than his band did,
but
apparently.
they
Yeah.
played it. And the first show that they played it in was in Brussels. Big
Yep.
tent, like 18,000 people. And he said, we started playing this thing, and by the end of the song, during the chorus, we had 18,000 people singing along. And that's when we knew, all right, we need to make this ours. So they went back to the Swampers and they said, yeah, okay, we want to do it.
Yeah.
So they had the band come in and they were playing it. They went there three times and they just couldn't get it. It just wasn't, it wasn't clicking. So in the end, what you hear is basically most of the music is
It
directly from the demo.
it's the demo. Yeah, primarily the Swampers.
Just incredible. Oh, there is one other story about that, however.
Oh yeah.
Um, while they were doing the playback on this demo, a kid comes in to the production booth, and that sounds strange, but basically the production booth was right out back. So you walk in
Oh,
the back door, and you were there.
it's
You were in
such a
the booth.
small building. That's right.
Um, so the kid had been standing there for a while, and just at some point, Johnson turned to him and said, "Can I help you?" And the kid said, "I want to be on a record." And so Johnson said, normally I would have just told him go to hell and send him packing. But in this case, yeah, there was just something about his aura. So I said, "Well, go grab your goddamn guitar." Kid heads out to the car where his parents are sitting. The car is running,
Friend.
and he signals to his dad, and they go get his guitar out of the trunk, and he goes in and hooks up and starts playing. His dad gets back in the car, and the car's still running. So anyway, this kid's doing
Yeah.
his guitar thing, and Johnson just said, "I was just amazed.
Yeah.
This
Kid was good.
kid could really play." And so, like the lead guitar on um, Old Time Rock and Roll is played by one Howie McDonald,
Yeah.
who became known as Forrest McDonald. He and his wife then put up a record company and things like that. And Johnson said he still had contact with this guy years and years later. But that was his 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah.
The kid heard himself on the radio and called Johnson and said, "Hey, that's me." So he cut him a check, and the rest, as they say, is history.
It's history.
One other thing, we've talked about this sort of thing a lot, is studio mistakes that end up on a
Yeah.
recording just because they're
Yeah.
just kind of interesting little mistakes. And in this case, um, there was the intro, which was meant to be played one time.
Yeah.
Dun 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 dun. Just take those old records. All right, that's how it
Well,
was supposed to go. But he started playing the playback for this intro, and then uh, oh, uh, it was too early. He didn't mean to, so he started it again. Dun 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 dun. Just take those old. They recorded that thing.
yeah.
He gave it to the intern. Told him before you send it to Bob, remove the extra intro.
Right.
Well, the kid didn't really understand what it was that was expected of him and didn't do it. And so that's why we have this double intro for,
Yeah, double intro, which is one of the most distinctive features of that song.
yeah,
It
it's
really
hard to
works.
imagine without it, right?
Yeah,
So
it is.
kind of cool.
Yeah.
Rod Stewart shows up in 1975 with the LP Atlantic Crossing
Yeah, yeah, Atlantic Crossing.
and the single Sailing. Huh? Um,
Yeah, I mean it's yeah. I mean
Rod,
yeah.
there's a funny anecdote here too. He arrives at the studio, comes into the production booth, looks and sees the guys uh, in the band room, and assumes that those are roadies or production helpers or assistants or something like that. And he looks at his watch and says, "Where's the band?" And says, "That's them. These these local white crackers." And it said he almost left. He almost left, but stuck around long enough to understand.
This is quite a famous anecdote. And I always wondered, um, th this is, I mean, come on. Didn't somebody at this point tell Rod what would I mean, this is the so I
Right?
mean, come
Yeah.
on. What are we doing here, man?
Did he never speak to Paul Simon?
I mean, yeah, I mean this is I mean they're a known quantity by this point.
Yeah.
Good grief. But
So you think
yeah,
that's an urban legend?
I'm not sure. I'm not certain. I don't think it I just don't think it necessarily speaks well of Rod or his management team. I mean, somebody's not paying any attention to what the hell's going on. But to Rod's credit, he stuck around. And Atlantic Crossing is, I mean, it's Rod Stewart in the 70s. There's a lot on there that's pretty good.
He came back the next year to record Tonight's the Night.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I had both those albums. They're good. You know, there's great songs on them.
around this period, Jimmy Johnson um, discovers a band the name Leonard Skinnerd,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
they produce a lot. They do a lot of work, a lot of work there in Muscle Shoals.
Yeah, they're in the studio there. Yeah.
Yeah, um, and uh, he's trying to find some sort of distribution for them, and it's difficult because their anthem, Freebird, is over 9 minutes long, and uh, this was still in the infancy of FM radio, and the iron rule of AM radio was, you know, it can't be longer than 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, you're not gonna. Yeah, that's so right.
And so they were saying, we like what we're hearing. Cut it down to 3.5 minutes, and we'll distribute it. But that never happened. Another part of the problem is that as part of the process of farming it around, I don't know who is taking the tape around to these executives. Was
I'm
it
not certain either, but the problem is the tape, or at least how the yeah
how it's being
how it's
mounted?
mounted. Yes,
Because what ends up getting played for all of these people is the back side of the tape, which is muffled and sounds awful, of course. And so they listen
yeah,
to like 10 seconds of this and say, oh, well, whatever that is, we're not interested.
right,
And
right.
one company after the other, oh, get out of here with this. So Ronnie Van Zant ends up hearing what has been being played to these executives and just freaks out
Loses it.
and just um, that causes a real rift between him and Johnson,
Yes,
which goes on until he sees it being played the wrong way with an engineer who understands. Oh well, wait a second. Flips the tapes, plays it the right way, and it sounds fantastic. It sounds just like it's supposed to. And then he realizes I've been giving the wrong person the fault for this.
right.
And they have their reconciliation. And of
Now,
course, anyone who knows Sweet Home Alabama um, knows that the fourth verse is just an ode to the
well,
Beatles.
it is, and I think you're right, Dave. And so this is, I think, for most people, this is where they became aware, right? This is, oh yeah, the Swampers, whatever the hell that is, right? The Muscle Shoals, and um, Al Cooper is the individual who ends up working with Skinner in those early years, and Al Cooper got a lion's share of the credit, almost to the point where it's like, oh, that's Al Cooper who discovered Skinner. That's not clearly not the case.
Right.
And Van Zant, before he passed, was able then to sort of, not only get it straight with Johnson, but also sort of get it straight with the world in terms of, sort of the origin story of Skinner. But it's the damnedest thing, that this actually this went on for a while. That play from one company to the next. Like, this sounds terrible. Yeah, it's the strangest thing. But he made it right. The band made it right with that lyric, and the rest is history. It's a huge advertisement for the Swampers.
Well, there's yes, yes. And I listened to that for years and years without even knowing who the Swampers are, but then it became clear. Uh, there's one other story involved with Leonard Skinner and Jimmy Johnson as the producer. While they were working on Freebird, and they were during one of the playbacks in the studio, their roadie goes and sits down at the piano and starts spontaneously playing the piano
Yes,
part,
yes. This
which
is
there had not been a piano part. He created it at the spur of the moment in the
this is the
studio, and everybody just said, "What the fuck?" They had no idea that he could play.
that isn't that this is that yes.
And
This
when
is
you
the
know what
again.
that piano part is, it's just brilliant. It's brilliant. And so from that moment on, he was not the roadie anymore. He was a member of the band as a
That's another one of those
engineer.
stories that just beggars to Billy. But I mean, okay, okay.
Supposedly, yeah, that's the
Okay. I mean, yeah, it's definitely the story that
legend.
the group adhered to for 40 years. The discovery of one Billy Powell as an
That's a fantastic
accomplished,
roadie.
yeah,
Just a,
as a
just a great roadie among roadies.
he apparently has kept his light under a bushel basket. To the as the story goes, the astonishment of all, including bandmates who thought that he was a guy who could um, move boxes and roll amps, but the whole kind of discovery process of, well, we had We had no idea that he had such training and such chops. It does well. Anyway, that's the story.
I love that story.
Many people do.
So what are you suggesting?
Oh well, I'm suggesting that you know maybe the story was amplified a wee bit.
What?
I know that rarely happens.
Well, all right.
Um, but I mean, it's
It
neither here
is the
nor
sort of
there.
story that if it didn't happen, it's something that a publicist might create out of thin air.
Yes, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, I mean, right. I think that
So
that's right.
sure,
So I
it's
mean, and
possible, I
who's to
suppose.
know? The individuals involved have all since departed this mortal coil. So, but anyway, that's the story. Adding to the lore of Skinner and Freebird, which becomes really their definitive. I mean, they'll not so much the studio version, but Freebird certainly becomes their definitive song, no question. That's an unusual group, a distinctive group with an incredible backstory. Which it's interesting that Muscle Shoals has got there's a real connection there.
Oh, there's a picture of the Muscle Shoals sound studio softball team, and the Leonard Skinner guys are in there's like I don't know 20, 25 people in this picture, but the Leonard Skinner guys are scattered among them. It's kind of fun.
It, yeah, it was a simpler time, but it was also that this is it's a small town. Um, the Muscle Shoals guys are small town guys, coming to work in jean shorts and stuff like that, and so to bands who were who understood all this, they just there's a real comfort level.
This went on. They would eventually sell the studio around 1985, um, and would occasionally continue to do sessions there.
Yeah,
But they were no longer, the bosses. They were no longer the producers. But still, you have to look at a list of the people that ended up going there, ended up working with them before everything was said and done. You have people like the Oak Ridge Boys, Levon Helm, Eric Clapton,
yep.
Glenn Frey, Donna Fargo, Santana, Elton John, Bob Dylan. Dire Straits did their first LP there, Communicate, in 1979.
So Dire Straits recorded Sultan of Swing in Muscle Shoals.
Yes. So it's
How
just,
about that?
it's just one damn thing after the other.
Oh, absolutely.
Eddie Rabbit was there, a Starland vocal band.
Oh, well, now
Uh,
you're
now
talking.
you're talking. Jimmy Buffett, Joan Baez,
Okay.
Dr. Hook,
Oh,
Willie Nelson.
yeah. It's
So
it again. Maybe a little surprising that Willie Nelson was not a creature of Nashville by this point, but they mentioned the Oak Ridge Boys. They had a handful of. I mean, they were never a big country destination. I think that's fair. Um,
right,
but they
that's more
that was
Hall
more
than
recall.
Fame
Yeah.
Studios. Yeah, and he went that direction in a big way then.
Yeah, which I think strategically, and I don't know that he'd ever admit this, but he was feeling. Yeah, I mean, that worked. That worked for him.
It definitely
Yeah,
worked. Yeah.
yeah,
In the end, I think we can agree that as difficult as that split was for I think everyone involved, um, the fact that the Swampers went their own way and left Fame Studios and created the Muscle Shoals Sound Studio was probably a win for for music in the 1970s.
definitely a win for music. Definitely a win for music. And definitely a win for the four individuals involved.
Definitely
Uh,
a win for them. That's very true. I think that's
yeah,
without
I think it's more of a mixed bag for Hall, but I think it's but definitely a win for Red, but definitely a win for music, and it's and they solidified the Muscle Shoals brand, if you will. And well, I think they've all passed but one now. One of the questions I had, we were
David
looking
Hood,
at this.
the
David Hood
bassist,
remains.
is still alive.
Why in the hell aren't they in the Hall of Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
That's a really good question. They did get inducted into the Musicians Hall of Fame
They're musicians all the time when they're in the Alabama
Nashville.
music. I mean, what are we doing here? I mean, that you talk about a deserving group
Yeah,
of individuals. I mean, there's a whole sideman category in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, or what? It's just it's astounding.
it is. They're definitely well, they belong in the pantheon of
I
those
mean, I think
artists.
that's they absolutely do. And again, as we've reiterated, I mean, it's there's few things more improbable than Muscle Shoals, Alabama becoming a kind of recording mecca. In large part because it was all it's self-contained. It's not as the, I mean, these are people locals. The Swampers were local, Recall local, all this, right? And so it's God, it's just the damnedest thing ever. Ever just really it's just nothing like it. It's suddenly
No,
something.
yeah, it's and there have been a number of attempts to explain it, but in the end, it's just kind of a cosmic mystery.
Kind of a cosmic mystery. Yeah, it really is. That's probably a good way to bring this extended conversation about Muscle Shoals to a close. It's as fascinating a place as there is,
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
So, Dave, why don't you take us home?
Alrighty. If you enjoyed this video, and we hope you did, you can subscribe right here. Give us a thumbs up if you would. And you can watch our playlist, which is going to be just fantastic.
Oh yeah.
All sorts of really good stuff right here. And you can watch another behind the curtains episode, including the first part uh, right here.
Yeah, you bet. And we're also going to include then, like we do every with all of our recordings, a reading list to give you some sense of the popular and scholarly research. And there's been a real awakening of interest in Muscle Shoals of the past maybe 15 years. And we'll include a fair amount of that. And just also a reminder that we are on Blue Sky. We're posting new content every day on Blue Sky. So it's a fascinating place. So we hope to see you there. And so, well, until next time, we'll see you soon.
Bye bye.